if stormwater is the linchpin of getting economic development here, people saving their homes and so forth and so on, why isn't that the priority of the budget instead of a portion of a budget and then let's raise the taxes?
Well,
There's got to be in a budget that size somewhere
Well, once again, if
that we
we,
can live without for
right,
a year.
let me put it this way. If we can go to a different budget system, okay, that would really identify and root this out, and then also have public engagement. You know when I think public engagements should start on next year's budget? Right after we vote on this one.
Yes.
Okay? And I'm committed to that. Leslie?
Thank you for coming. Sometimes it's difficult to please everybody, and I understand that. As far as building a new city hall, isn't it the case that that building that is the city hall now will be reused by somebody?
Well, here's the thing. Do you know how much space that we rent and we use all over the city? So it would wind up eventually consolidating.
Well, if the only thing I would like to present to you is that rather than building a new Taj Mahal like they did down in Chesapeake, that to renovate the one we have, and as it's being renovated, the people that work there could be placed in other departments or other buildings. I'm sure that they can find some buildings, and if not, then perhaps we could ask that if our children can be in portables to go to school, that the people that are our public servants could also be willing for a year or 2 years to be able to
Right,
be
but
there.
let me just say this, and you know, I'll tell you what, I agree, but once again, we had a number of civic engagements on this. And one of the biggest things, one of the biggest demands we have, especially from our friend Barbara Messner, is a larger gallery for people to sit. You know, sometimes we break fire code with some of the people that are coming in.
That could be done in renovation.
Not really, okay? No, because once again, you know, it's only so, you know, so wide, but once again, and the other thing is, I hate to say it, you know, security in our town and all over this country for city council has been enhanced for a number of reasons. There was a tragic situation in St. Louis a number of years ago. And, you know, so security, like even to get my own office, I have to, you know, use my card to swipe just to get into my office. And, but once again, the other thing is about having offices for things. But like I said, Leslie, I agree with you. And, you know, but once again, you know, we got to make decisions going forward. And my concern is that if we kick this down a couple of years and the cost of construction goes up, my fear that we might be looking at a possible recession in a couple of years, and we're still going to have these massive stormwater and other infrastructure needs too, you know, but once again, you know, something we got to think.
Well, Mark had a question, and then that gentleman over there, and then we'll go to you, and then how's that?
Yeah, thank you. To stormwater again, I think that every money we spend there and that is not wisely spent is a bad spent dollar. And I just know, for example, that the Netherlands have very similar experiences than we have in stormwater protection, and that we should maybe
Learn from them.
look and learn from them before we start spending dollars.
I'll tell you what, I like this guy because he actually just threw me a softball, a beach ball, without even knowing it.
Is there an
Well,
expectation
one
there?
of the things I'm going to be doing with my the mayor's task force on green ribbon thing, you know, this is the type of thing is, I spoke to the mayor of Norfolk, and so we're going to work collaboratively on that with ODU and look at benchmarking. And we, you know, we got to get the academics involved in this stuff, you know, too, and find out what they're doing in Netherlands, what they're doing in New Orleans and everything, using best practices going forward. But once again, we're kind of doing things catch as catch can. And I'm talking about a more regimented process and of evaluation, setting priorities and stuff like that. So you're preaching to the Dyer choir.
Okay, yeah, the next question.
Yes?
I'm retired from Virginia Beach Police, and then I was original city television production and systems engineer. And I've been through the whole city hall building all the way up to the attic and everything. And my recommendation on the city hall is build another city hall behind it and could move everything into there and do the renovation on the old building, then tie everything together. Then you'll have a city hall twice the size, totally fixed at half the price. Yeah, there's no reason why that can't be done.
Yeah.
Because you got the property, you got the land and availability to do it. The
Yeah.
electrical system needs to be upgraded. And you have to go past, do the asbestos problem it has in it.
Yeah, they got a lot of asbestos in there.
That's actually a minor problem, but it's in.
Okay, Dane?
Yeah, Dave.
Mr. Mayor, is any type of economic analysis going to be done for something in the water?
Yes,
Good.
without question. And there's going to be a debriefing on it, what went right, what went wrong, and the economic impact. Let me tell you a little sidebar. Sunday, I went to my Wawa on Farrell Parkway, not Farrell, Farrell Parkway. And the manager there told me that between 1 o'clock in the morning and 4 o'clock in the morning, they were jammed. People coming home from that concert. The spin-off and everything, let me put it this way. 2 victories there. Number one, just the goodwill and everything, but the economic, kind of boom to there. Because don't forget, during college weekend, one of the problems we had, people were closing their businesses, and then people had nowhere to go, okay? So we are going to have believe it or not, and if you want, I can get you, Marlene, and I can get UD a copy of the economic analysis that the Neptune Festival has, the Patriot Festival, the Shamrock Run and everything. We got all those facts and figures now, but you can count on there will be an accountability and economic analysis on that.
Okay, Dennis, and then...
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Junior. One of the things you talk about is unifying the city. But how do you feel like, when people are being taxed, and they're being taxed without representation, in other words, they don't have any say in it, it's hard to feel like they're part of something. Now, when is city council going to start abiding by the charter and putting all these things above the 10 million mark on a referendum, so that we can feel like we have something that we're part of?
Well, let me put it this way. One of the things, hate to say it, I think that would slow government down a bit, in terms of things. But once again, the way we're doing things right now, let me put it this way. Everything is going to be on the table that we're going, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
You think I'm trying to avoid the camera?
Trying to avoid the camera.
But I'll tell you what, we're gonna put a lot of things on the table. There might be some things, on referendums on the ballot coming forward that, but we're gonna look at everything. You got my word. Don?
Well, we're going to be specific about actually 10 million, but it's like people need to feel like they have a part in the city.
Right, and I'll tell you what, one of the things, and like I said, I intend to be out there engaged. And don't forget, we have a new chemistry on council. And some of the younger folks, I know Aaron, I know Sabrina's been out there, I know Jessica's been out there. I have a feeling that you're going to see more council people out and about and listening.
Laura?
With something in the water,
Oh, yeah.
you're the financial report, we also go to a police report, and when is that coming?
Oh, yeah, everything is being part of the financial,
Police,
They do a cost-benefit analysis on all this stuff in terms of overtime. We brought in Virginia State Police, we had FBI there, and...
But one of the big measures of whether this was a success, in my mind, is whether the crime stats are better than the college, than the.
Oh, yeah, that was documented already. Yeah, the only real problem we had an incident in Sandbridge. That was the major incident there. We had, I think, like 40 people pass out or something like that. But as far as the crime, I think there were 40 arrests for petty stuff. That was
No shootings, no murders.
no.
Well, there's a lot of people who listen to the scanner, and I know that the police are moving to all encrypted solutions, so people can't listen to the scanner anymore. And there were some semi-reports of some things that happened on this encrypted channels that we haven't heard about.
Right.
And how do we know if we'll ever hear about them?
Well,
Especially when we go to all encrypted channels, how do we know we're going to be able to trust the crime stats from the police?
Now, let me put it, like I said, I was riding in a car on Friday night, and I was listening to the radio. I was with a police officer. There was very little chatter that night, and you figured you had a bunch of folks that were disappointed by being rained out. But like I said, I was there walking around all over. I was pretty much, everywhere from the Hyatt on 27th Street all the way down to, Rudy Loop. And I was talking to the police, and they were all upbeat, and, if something was going on, I think I would have known. Okay.
Laura?
Well, one of the elephants.
You're the one that wanted all-day kindergarten. Only kidding.
That's funny.
I am only kidding. Rona, look at Rona. Bob said that? Oh my God.
So last year, I know you were one of the rebels who was dissatisfied with the budget. We had the Moss Abbott Dyer budget. And I was wondering if this year you were in favor of the people's budget that has been proposed.
I was not asked to participate in that. And I had the problems with a couple of the other things, so I am hoping, and that's why I hope that when Lewis Jones and John Moss sit down, they find something. As I mentioned to you, and I've been honest with you, I'm in favor of the dome site. I'm in favor of the, the new city hall and some other things. And, these are things that I kind of committed to. And I did say that on the political stump too. And since they were part of it, once again, pulling the rug on the dome deal at this point, I think would send the wrong message when we, as a result of, Pharrell going national and saying our city is open for business. See, I got to think ahead. I got to think about, the industry leaders that, saw Virginia Beach. I maybe changed the perception about things. And, I think once we're involved, and don't forget, the developers already have a significant amount of investment in this. I know we try to demonize developers sometimes, but once again, this is a group that wasn't usually part of the usual suspects. And we got to at least give them the opportunity to succeed. They've already devoted a ton of money into this thing. And once again, with all the town hall meetings and everything, I would hate to pull the rug on them now. So that was a couple of the objections I've had with that.
Virginia, do you have a question?
Yeah.
Okay, because
Okay.
she was waving at us.
Oh, okay.
I guess, just, you're talking about pulling the rug on the dome project. I understand what you're talking about with that. But, something in the water was very successful for our city. And I hope to see, the results of that we have
You will.
a great economic boom, so to speak, for that. I think one of the things that I'm most concerned about when you say that, pulling the rug on it, I don't really want to see the rug pulled on that, but I want to see it delayed because I want to see there be bonds available for flooding. And I think that that's more important right now because we can continue to have these festivals at the ocean front, like we have this something in the water, and we can continue to build our economic bottom line like that.
Okay, but once again, that was from wind surge, and that was the thing. We got to deal with that in a different way than stormwater and everything. Now, let me say this.
We want you to just go.
Yeah, okay, once again, and I'm just going to be blatantly honest with you, we cannot stop functioning as a city as we address our priorities. And the other thing is, the quicker we get this open, the quicker we get that cash flow, going, and we start bringing these other businesses in. We've already started. We got money in the budget that we're going to be starting to move forward on the thing, but delaying projects that would eventually start bringing in those millions of dollars, I don't really personally think that's prudent. And it doesn't necessarily mean, but once again, we have a lot of other things that we have to address in the
I
city.
guess my biggest concern with that is I saw, Alice Kelly, I saw her numbers, is that her name, from the,
Finance, yes.
from finance, and our debt service doesn't leave the room.
No, but once again, there's going to be discussion. We're going to be talking about bond issues and everything right after. And don't forget, this is going to be also paid by the TIP fund, and I know there's some questions about that, but it's going to be a dedicated funding source, not coming out of the general fund. And it's going to make money for the schools, and it's going to make money for us.
Okay, Bill, then Marlena,
What about me?
and then Teresa, and then Elaine, and then we have to stop, okay?
Ms. Mayor, stormwater in people's houses is disastrous for one family after another. And even in new housing developments like Asheville, it happens. So one way to take care of it that wouldn't cost any money, but would mitigate the trouble that stormwater causes would be to elevate houses.
Right.
At the
You
time.
did speak to that, didn't you, sir?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I was wondering what your reaction is to the idea of mandating, it wouldn't cost a penny, but mandating that, in all new multi-house developments, that they be built on crawl spaces 5 feet, let's say, above grade.
Yep.
There are ways to do that that are actually pretty cheap compared to the small bricks that fall apart. And then you can put in storm vents so that the water comes into the crawl space and goes out. And as a guy who renovates homes very often, too often with my hands, it would be so much easier to crawl through there and fix it.
I'll tell you what, when I do the business advisory group I'm putting together, I will definitely put that on the table. This is an advantage about coming out to groups, because when you listen, sometimes you learn.
Okay, then Marlena was.
Marlena.
Okay, I sort of have two questions. One is that, without making a lot of statements, I know that we had anywhere from 2 to 4 police or state police on the corners, because we had a ton of police. Not that I'm going to say that it wouldn't have been just as successful, but perhaps that had an impact on the crime element, because every single corner had multiple police officers. And in the past, when we have had any of our festivals or whatever we've done, we relied solely on local, pulling from the various neighborhoods and sending to the oceanfront. So I'm interested to see what the cost breakout will be for the police.
Can I just say this about this? It's incumbent on us as government to over-prepare for the worst possible scenario. Hate to say it, Centera had an emergency surgery facility on here, and but once again, here's the thing. We put this together, when you think about it, in 5 months, when it usually would take a couple years to do something like this. There's going to be a significant analysis going forward to next year. What went right, what went wrong, and everything like that. But once again, that'll be out in public. And as a matter of fact, I'll come back to this with that information.
And my other question had to do with Dr. Cook, because I know 2 years ago, John Moss put a position forward on council to try to have Dr. Cook, who had agreed to do a cost analysis for the pier project, which thank God got tanked. But Vice Mayor Wood was the one who came up with an alternative motion, and so that died. So I know you're talking about, Dr. Cook is an amazing resource in this area and goes all over the country. Do you think you'll have more success getting council to agree to having him in. Okay.
Let me put it this way, as we go forward, we got to